Is your car making this noise? Well, so is this one. I want to go over why this noise might occur and why you might need to replace your CV axle. Now the noise only seems to happen when you're turning. Whether it's left or right doesn't matter, but every time you take a sharp turn, which you can only do at low speeds, so yes, the noise does only occur at low speeds, that's when it happens. It doesn't seem to happen when you're driving straight on the highway or even taking wider turns. You might wonder why such specific criteria needs to be met in order for this noise to happen, and that is because it's actually coming from the outer CV joint here, which, although it doesn't have anything directly to do with steering the vehicle or turning the wheel, it does follow it as you turn the wheel. So let's say you turn hard left all the way to full lock, this is what it's going to look like. The joint will come out on this side and fold in on the other side. And as you're accelerating, it will be putting sideways pressure on that joint. Now, if it's worn out for any reason, it will start making noise under such pressure. To get a better understanding of what's happening, let's take the boot off. Just so you know, this will make a mess. So if you're going to attempt this, have something to catch all the runny grease that's going to come out of here. With the boot off, I was honestly expecting to see some damage, but I don't. But that doesn't mean there isn't any, because all we see is the outer part of the CV joint. Inside, we won't see until we disassemble. So there could still be damage in there, even if the grease was good, the boot was good, and it doesn't appear to be damaged. So let's take the CV axle out and inspect it on the workbench. With the axle out and on the workbench, we can better inspect the damage. Now, this right here is the axle that we removed, the original one. This does not go to this vehicle, but I have it here for demonstrational purposes. I wouldn't normally take a CV axle apart if it's making noise. I would just replace it. But it's important for us to understand what actually makes this noise happen. Now, I have the ball bearings here. There's only 6 of them in this axle. And these, most of the time, will not be damaged. Honestly, they are very hard steel, and unless they have a manufacturing defect to begin with, you won't see any damage on them. However, what you do usually see damage on is these races here. We have the inner part of the race, which does have some wear marks on it, some scars here where the ball bearings ride, and of course, you can tell where they have been going back and forth. On the outer race, we see some large indentations where the ball bearings usually rest when you're driving straight down the road, and the rest of these wear marks are actually from when it's turning back and forth. So that is a significant amount of wear there. On the outer part that has the splines, the spindle and everything, we have some wear marks. However, this is actually not very worn. Not as much as I expected it, to be honest. You can see discoloration, but I can't even feel it with my nail, so I'm going to say that there isn't much wear on this. That means the majority of that looseness in the CV axle joint is actually coming from these 2 components here, wearing with the ball bearings. This CV joint does not have any grease in it or a boot, of course. It is fairly loose, but it has 0 play. In and out, left and right, I can turn it all the way. There is no play whatsoever. It is nice and tight, which confirms that the play that we saw when this axle was in the vehicle is not normal. Now, if it has the tiniest bit of play, maybe that's normal after a lot of miles, but we had excessive amount of play, and that is what's causing our clicking noise. In most cases, the best fix for this is going to be a new CV axle assembly. And you might think that replacing the boots is enough and you can be ready to go with new grease, but as we saw, even if we don't have a torn CV boot and the grease is still in there, the joint can still go bad. So buying a new axle assembly from oneauto.com gets you not only brand new CV joints, new boots and new grease, but unlike when you reboot an axle, you're not left with the old components. Everything's new, and it saves a lot of time, and it's mess-free, because opening these joints up, that's going to make a whole lot of grease all over the place as soon as you pop the boot off. Trust me. So let's get this car fixed. The new axle is in, and I know that this fixed the problem, but it's always good to confirm. On some vehicles, when you remove the CV axle, some transmission fluid might drip out. So when you're done with the install, remove the dipstick if yours has one. If not, check it however it needs to be checked to make sure that it's to the appropriate level so that it can function accordingly before you go on an extensive road test.